We're going to talk about today are gerrymandering. Gerrymandering. Guys, quiet please.
Yes, sir.
And paradoxes.
We already learned that.
Great. Then it should be super simple. What? Okay.
Nemo's staring at you.
I'm sorry there's a lot of overlap between this class and your government class this year.
I didn't take PAD this year.
Okay, well then this is awesome for you. So, since you guys already learned about gerrymandering in PAD, those of you guys who are taking PAD, if you're not taking PAD, then you're going to learn about it right now.
I'm good.
Well, Tristan never does his homework, so he probably all probably did.
So,
Why are we bashing on Tristan?
okay, shh, quiet. So this doesn't happen in Roundup so much because Roundup's pretty much consistent as far as its political groups go, but this happens in Billings quite a bit. So let's say that we've got a setup in Billings because Billings has, there's the state senate and then there's the federal senate, but let's talk about the state senate for a second. Because Montana has 100 state senators and Billings has, I want to say 3 or 4 of them that get chosen from Billings alone. So let's say that we have a few Senate districts that are being chosen from an area of Billings. And this area of Billings is kind of separated here. And we've got some rural space. That's always a hard word to say. Rural. And then we've got an area over here with a college. And then we've got like all of this stuff in between. And we're going to separate this into 3 different congressional districts. So I'm going to draw a line here and here. And what happens is the area that has the college in it, that has most of the college, this ends up being, colleges almost always vote Democratic.
What does that say?
College? Colleges almost always vote Democratic. And so this district on the left ends up being Democratic.
Why are so many lines everywhere?
Because I'm explaining the districts here. There's 3 districts. This is the college area, and this is the rural area. And then this is District 1, District 2, District 3. The place, the congressional district that has the college in it is going to vote Democratic in general. And the congressional district that has the rural area in it is generally going to vote Republican. And you guys have noticed that if you just drive around Roundup a little bit, you'll see like 8 million Republican signs, but I have yet to see a single Hillary sign in Roundup. I might be wrong, but I haven't seen one. I also haven't seen a Steve Bullock for governor sign. I haven't seen a Denise Juneau for House sign. They might be around here somewhere. I haven't seen them. Roundup's a rural area, so almost always Roundup is going to vote Republican. However, if you go into Billings and you drive around in the college neighborhood of Billings, the neighborhood that's right by the college, you will see Denise Juneau for House, and you will see Hillary for president, and you will see Steve Bullock for governor, because places that are near colleges almost always vote Democratic. Now this place that's in the middle, that's split between the rural and the college area, this will be 50-50. So with the boundary lines for the districts drawn as they are right now, you have about, like the Democrats have 1.5 spaces, the Republicans have about 1.5 spaces, and it seems fair, right? Well, I mean, it might seem unfair if you're Republican, and you might want the Republicans to have more spaces. It might seem unfair if you're Democrat, and you might want the Democrats to have more spaces. And this is where gerrymandering comes in. Gerrymandering is when a group of politicians get together and they redraw the boundary lines to confine one political party to a space and to give another political party more power. So what I could do, if I wanted to, is I could redraw the boundary lines here to give either the Democrats or the Republicans more power in these districts. So if I wanted to, I could redraw the lines. Let me show you what it would look like, so that the Democrats could have more power. And if I did that, I've got this rural area right here. If I drew the House district rather than having it be, or the congressional district, rather than having it be straight up and down, if I drew it to be along that rural boundary line that already existed, and have this other district here, and then have the college split in between, then the power of the college is split in between these 2 districts, and now it's turned these 2 districts from one being Democrat and one being 50-50 to being both Democrat, because any rural Republicans that would have changed this to being 50-50 are now confined to this other area. Now I've got one Republican district, I've got one Democratic district, and another Democratic district. And I've shifted the balance of power. Now I have 2 Democratic districts and 1 Republican district. I could do the same thing if I wanted to. I could draw the boundary line around the college and then split the rural district up so that the rural has more power. And then I would have 2 Republican districts and 1 Democratic district. This is called gerrymandering. This is redrawing boundary lines so that you have more power in one party than another. This happens all the time. In fact, I have an example I wanted to show you guys of a political district in Chicago that will blow your mind. Because its boundary line makes no sense at all. So this is from, so this gray area here is a political district that was drawn in 2004. This here, that goes, so like this kind of makes sense, this part right here. But then it goes over, up, over, up, over, down, up, over, down, over, up, over, down, up, over. Like just this section, like this weird little section, is one congressional district.
That's double-minded.
The reason they did that is this is where all of the Puerto Rican people lived.
That's messed up.
They drew the boundary line so that it contained all of the Puerto Rican people. Because the Puerto Rican people had a tendency to vote Democratic, and if they just drew the boundary line here and then had it here and here, they'd make it so that the 2 districts were 50-50 Democratic and Republican. But if they kept all of the Puerto Rican people to one district and then made 4 districts out of it, they could keep all the Democrats to one place and make all the other ones Republican.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Not really.
It's ridiculous. I thought it was crazy myself when I looked at it. Anyway, you guys, your mileage may vary. Anyway, okay. So that's gerrymandering. The other thing we're going to talk about today is paradoxes that can happen when you're doing apportionment. Stop what? The notes? Oh, okay. Because the notes aren't going to stop. So there's 3 paradoxes we're going to talk about. And they sound more complicated than they are. The first one's called the Alabama paradox. Alabama paradox. All right. So the Alabama paradox is if the number of things increases, no one portion should decrease. No one portion should decrease. If it does, it's the Alabama paradox. So if, for example, with the warm-up, I had 20 A's. If I went from 20 to 25 A's, no one class should go from only having 5 A's to give out to having 4 A's to give out. They should stay the same number of A's or increase. If it does decrease, that's called the Alabama paradox. And it actually can happen, depending on which method of apportionment you're using. If it does happen, it's the Alabama paradox. Okay. Is that a threat?
Like
Okay.
the number of students change?
Yeah, so like if I decided I could give more A's out, right? If I decided I could give 25 A's out, if all of a sudden one of my classes went from only, like, if I had 20 A's to give out, and one of the classes could give 4 A's out, and then I had 25 A's, and that class that had 4 A's could now only give out 3 A's, that doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
It should have the same amount or go up.
Yeah.
But if it drops, that's a paradox. That doesn't make any sense.
And then it's Alabama.
That's called the Alabama paradox. It's named because that thing happened in 1880. We added more seats to Congress. And so since we only added seats to Congress, every state should have only gained seats or stayed the same. but Alabama lost a seat, and that didn't make any sense. And people in Alabama
Go
were
buy
mad.
another seat.
Okay, not physical seats.
No.
Okay.
Must have been a house fire.
Really?
I know,
My
right?
joke.
All right, so the new states paradox is what we're going to talk about
I
next.
was laughing about it. That's a little bit.
All right, so the new states paradox. The new states paradox says adding. I'm really misspelling adding here. Adding a new portion. Should take from existing.
Use that.
Should take from existing portions. Only. So for example, if I decided that I wanted to start throwing in, because the example on the warm-up I did first, second, third, fourth, fifth period, if I added sixth period into there, I should only decrease the other periods. If for some reason I added sixth period and then like first period ended up having more A's to give out, that would be a paradox, because I should only decrease the number of A's that the other classes give out, right? Or leave them the same.
Six. Okay, yeah.
This is called the new states paradox. There's one more, and then we'll get to our assignment. And your assignment today is actually really short.
Is it easy?
I think it's not too bad. You only have to do Hamilton's method and then talk about which kind of paradox it is.
Hamilton.
Sure, Hamilton, because we did.
Hamilton when you drop the decimals?
Yeah, and then add to the one that has the biggest population. So, the population paradox.
Question.
Yes,
How many weeks of school do we have?
40, and we're in week 11.
So what's the way done?
Right. This is the beginning of the second quarter, so we're a quarter of the way through.
Oh my gosh. I thought Brett was being smart.
No, you're just being more dumb.
Okay, so things with larger populations.
You just
That's
turned
so
it-
stupid.
You just turned it from me being an idiot to you being an idiot.
Should
Everybody's dumb.
never
Yeah, we know, just you.
Yeah, everybody.
loose
Dead.
to things
Dead. No, that's dead. I don't know. Dead.
smaller populations.
Yeah.
Populations.
Dad.
Dead.
Okay, so this last one, Lowndes' method, is directly in conflict with this, because Lowndes' method actually thinks that smaller populations should get preference to extra things. So these are the three paradoxes. Your assignment for today is going to be page 91, and I'm going to go get a copy of this for everybody because I just printed them out. Page 91, 9 through 12. I'll go grab it, and we'll go through part of it together. We can go through the whole thing together if we want to, if y'all are paying attention. For real? If y'all are paying attention, it's fine by me. Let me go grab it really quickly.